Yeah, that was me. I did that. So I was trying to park the Airstream by myself. This is a lesson for all you Airstreamers. It's always better to have a spotter. But somebody was out in front of Fred's house and I was trying to bring it in tight and I brushed up against what I thought was a bush and it turns out it's really a tree that's cut down super short.
We got scratches there.
Yeah, okay, we get it. So you can see right above the T in the Airstream, you can see a little evidence of some cat scratches there. So we think the cat tried to jump up on the Airstream at one point. It didn't quite make it. It would have been funny to see, but
yeah. And we got some other things that had happened in the past as well, right?
Yeah, this was from the tree out in front of your house, the mesquite. So that's why we got that sucker trimmed down.
Yeah.
He said he's very enthusiastic about these is just pinstriping. The other one is a pretty bad scratch.
Yeah.
But. So we are here at a company called Bulldog Detail in Scottsdale, Arizona. And they're gonna do their best to make it look as best as possible. So we're gonna leave the Airstream with them for a few days. And when we get it back, we should have a nice shiny Airstream. They did it. They coated the Airstream in a process called glass coat. This thing looks better than when I bought it. I mean, it's so shiny. Of course, they also took out the terrible scratch that happened when a bush jumped out in front of me while I was backing up the trailer.
So you can kind of tell from the close-ups that we did earlier, there was a pretty big scratch on that, on the vent there. It also had run right across the side here.
Oh, you don't rub it in.
But it's all gone now. I don't even see it.
Yeah, he said he got rid of 98% of it, so I'm sure there's some evidence, but they did a gorgeous job, right?
Yeah, it definitely looks good.
So, thumbs up for Bulldog Detail, and we're going to do a sponsorship. Mm-hmm. So I highly recommend their services. We had the trailer polished, had the scratches removed, got the Arizona pinstriping taken off,
Look at them shiny
and then we
tires.
had it glass coated. They did a gorgeous job. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, for our viewers at home, I'd like to introduce you to Kyle. Kyle is the owner and manager and operator of Bulldog Detail, and he is going to sponsor us for a season. As you may recall, I managed to back the Airstream into a bush, and Kyle has done some work on the trailer. So I was wondering if you could explain to our viewers, we've done two things to the Airstream, right? We did
a lot of things, but two major things.
Two major things. So can you explain to our viewers what you did?
Yeah, so first we just did a general wash, decontamination wash, which includes like iron decontamination and clay. So that way we get the paint, or the clear in this case, back to as smooth as possible before we try and start removing contaminants or deep scratches. And so all around here, we mainly just compounded the majority, so like a heavy abrasive to remove a lot of the deep scratches, and then about 30% of all those deep scratches were really far in, so we had to use 1500 grit sandpaper, and then 2000, 3000, and then in the deeper parts is where we went the 1500, and we widened it out and did 2000 to level it, then 3000 a little larger, so you can't tell there's any.
That's extraordinary. And so our viewers understand,
And then just
this actually, I see, and this actually involves removing material.
Actually removing
and then,
material, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Same thing with like painted vehicles. The only way to remove those scratches is to get down or almost to the depth of the scratch.
Okay.
Yep.
So I felt, so that our viewers understand, that this was a very, very fair price just to do what you described.
Yep.
Now we're going to talk about a process called glass coating.
Yeah.
And
so ceramic coating, glass coating, there's titanium coatings now.
Okay.
They're kind of all over the place. Mainly the generic term is ceramic coating.
ceramic coating. Can you explain to our viewers, there is actually some apparent chemical relationship to glass, right? It sounds like.
So it's SiO2,
Okay.
which is the actual chemical makeup.
Okay.
And there's some that are like Si14, which is more of a, it's still a resin, but it's more of a spray on.
Okay.
So there's a few different types. The one that we did was hand application, and we did from the very top rail
Yep.
before the AC
Yep.
unit all the way down, and we included the awning as well,
So one thing I noticed right away,
and
you
the
were-
plexi.
and the plexi. So you were explaining to me a little bit ago that this has changed the shininess of the trailer a little bit, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic effect. It's made it a little bit brighter.
Yeah, just a little bit, adds a little bit more depth. So what we did, the polishing added a little bit of sheen, not too much, because the satin look of it,
Right.
it's a pretty much just bare aluminum with a nice clear over top of it, which gives it a really nice satin look. And then we added a little bit of depth to it, and how we did that was polishing. So after we did those 3 steps, or like sanding in the different
Right.
areas, compounding, then we did a polish over the whole thing, so that way everything is even. So that, like, this area wasn't less bright than this area.
Right.
And then after that, we alcohol prepped, so 70% alcohol,
Oh my goodness.
diluted the entire thing. Then we used wax and grease remover on the whole thing, and then we actually hand applied the ceramic coating. And there was 3 different steps. The
Okay.
first step actually has 2 layers to it, and that's just on one application. It combines 2 layers. So there's like a 7H barrier, which
Now,
is more flexible.
when you refer to an H, so our viewers
So H is
understand
hardness.
Hardness. Okay.
Yeah. And so, and it's the pencil test. It's not like Mohs hardness. So
Okay.
it's not as hard as diamonds or anything. So it's like, so I have a 9H pencil
Okay.
and it won't scratch it. If I get a 10H, it won't scratch it. If I get an 11H pencil, it'll scratch it.
Gotcha.
Essentially. So the 7H base flexible layer will really help out, like, in the change of the season, essentially. So like expanding, contracting, it'll still hold that brightness and everything to it. And then the 10H top coat is just a really durable top coat. So like, so far that's the hardest top coat out there.
Okay.
And then that makes it really really good for washing, drying. So the chemical makeup makes like all the water pretty much hopefully sheet off.
Should bead right off, right?
Yeah, it should either bead or sheet right off.
And you referred to that as, I believe, hydrophobic.
Yep,
Okay.
hydrophobic. And then on top of the 10H, we use 2 coats of a more hydrophobic, but not as hard top
Okay.
coat. And that's essentially literally just for self-cleaning purposes, for that hydrophobic cleaning.
And you described, I believe, the hardness of that final coat isn't quite as hard as, say,
It's
the
not as
original.
hard.
Okay.
It's not as
Gotcha.
hard, but it's another layer. So we pretty much have layers
Yep.
of these ceramic, and we're talking like 0.003 mils, but it's
But
still layers.
it does add a little bit of thickness.
Yeah, so each layer in front of the other is just another sacrificial barrier. So that last coat of like those 2 4Hs, so those would be only for self-cleaning, so you don't have to wash it as often. So that way it's better looking for longer. It has some anti-static properties,
Okay.
just like
kidding.
glass.
Okay.
Well, like,
Okay.
so if you have, for instance, if you have glass, like a glass bottle, and that's why we don't wax anymore really, and a wax candle,
Yeah.
and you roll them both down a hill, mainly the glass bottle will be like kind of dusty, and you can wipe it off pretty easily,
Right.
and then you won't scratch it. And then the wax candle will probably have a lot of debris and contaminants in it, and a lot of dust literally stuck to it.
So there's actually some like static electrical characteristics it can draw with wax. It can actually pull crap onto your trailer, and so this actually has some anti-static characteristics too. It sounds
Correct.
like that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So the chemistry behind this is actually fairly astonishing. I had no idea there was that many layers, and that allows the trailer to expand and contract. And then it also has self-washing properties and electrostatic properties.
Yeah, that's really
Absolutely
cool.
astonishing.
Yeah, it's fun, and then there's sealants that you can keep up with it. That's that Si14 that I was telling you about. So that way you can just like spray it on like every few months if you want to, just to keep
Okay.
a better hydrophobic property. But the coating that we typically use most often should last in the lab about 10 years. So real life, we're probably looking between like 2 and 5 years.
2 to 5, okay.
Actual.
And do you feel Arizona's perhaps maybe it beats up a little bit more because of the heat, or do you feel less because there's not as much snow and rain? Who knows?
I don't live in the snow, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
at least in this climate, we're getting like, so my very first coating was back in 2011, and we still maintain it, and that's still beating like day one.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it gives you like kind of an idea. But we
Right.
also have cars that we've done a year ago, and they just like tunnel it every single day, and we have to do another top coat on it like
Gotcha.
annually. So
Okay.
it all depends.
So, and then I guess one last question that's not specifically related to what we've just been talking about, but to our viewers, how would you recommend just in general washing and caring for a trailer? I had mentioned to you that I never washed this trailer, and when I did, I think it was 2 times in 2 years I did a power wash because I was paranoid about abrasives and scratching it. What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, so power washing is fine. I typically, on everything that we use 2 mitts.
Okay.
So, I mean, I like to get water involved so that way you get as much lubricity as possible. Water and soap, pH balanced soap is fine. But sometimes you need a non-pH balanced soap. Like if you have just a lot of contaminants on there, a pH balanced soap isn't going to pull that off. So you need like a higher.
I didn't even know such a thing existed.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how did you learn all this?
Just
You picked it up
just
and
doing it like
Nice.
back in probably 2000. I don't even know now. Maybe 2005, 2000 maybe. Just started getting into detailing, and then I've been to a lot of different trainings.
Okay.
Since then, a lot of paint correction trainings, sanding trainings, just detail trainings. And then all the guys have been to some sort of training now. We just had clear bra training. So we can actually clear bra this too.
We've Fred and
cool.
I've had a conversation about this. We'll be contacting you in the future.
Okay.
So, and then I guess my last question: how terrifying was it when you had your first like 6-figure vehicle that you were detailing?
Oh, I mean, pretty terrifying. But then after that, it's like, I don't want to say like, it's kind of just another car now,
Right.
because every car has, we treat a Camry. Lamborghinis get way more views, but they all get the same attention.
That's
So,
great, right?
Yeah.
So you
I
get
mean,
the
we've had
same-
a couple $3 million vehicles in here. That's some really gorgeous 85 Countachs in here that are really pretty.
Right.
We've had like,
But to the owners, I get it.
Yeah.
It's important to them, and like the trailers to me. So the kind of care that goes into it is
Yeah,
just
exactly.
extraordinary. So, well, fantastic.
and mostly
Thanks.
everything's customized too. So like, we have some base prices for everyone, but I mean, for instance, you had like
Yep.
a super custom one because you had like your whole thing wasn't scratched, so we didn't perform like the same work all over the
Right.
place. So that's why we did that like sanding, and then we kind of step it out so that way you don't have to spend a fortune.
Well, and I feel again, just to clarify to our viewers, I felt the price was incredibly fair, very reasonable. So, and by the way, extraordinarily fast for the size of this trailer. I've only power washed this thing on my own, and it's almost unbearable how long it takes. So
Yeah,
it's
power washing
extraordinary.
is tough because you like really push things into a lot of crevices. So you really have to just wait a day almost. But you have to use good water, because a lot of times
The hard water is
the
just
hard water is terrible.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that's one of the things with the coating. It'll help against the hard water. So you should get like, let's say for instance, you just like spray hard water
Right.
on the car.
Right.
If coated versus uncoated,
Yeah.
you should have like 40% less spots
Okay.
on this side, and they should clean up easier. But still, try not to use hard water
Right.
because it's terrible.
Right. All right. Well, I would like to thank you very much. And again, everybody, this is Kyle from Bulldog Detail, and he is our sponsor. So it was very, very nice to see you do this
Thank you.
work.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.